Everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. Tonight we're going to be playing some CC games on Talishar with this Turbo Fealty Fang deck. Played a ton of games over the weekend with Fang and got it to a point that I'm pretty happy with it. I would say this is kind of like a mid-rangey type Fang. I find we block a lot while we're building up our Fealty. And you know what? Sometimes that happens and you get 3 Fealty by turn 1. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. If the opponent resets you and you have to start building it again, we kind of have to jostle for position and do a bit of blocking. So although we are turbo fealty, doesn't mean that we're all aggro all the time. Our deck does block pretty well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a game with the deck and then probably talk through some of the choices I have after that. I think the first thing I'll do, though, is just do a couple random hands to show you what we're working with here. Hey, Brun. What do you think about Helm of Sharp Eye? Yeah, so I actually had Helm of Sharp Eye in my list for quite a while. With half the deck being reactions, I thought, hey, maybe this is the time for Helm of Sharp Eye. You know, if you have an extra resource, you really want another reaction, maybe you've bricked on something, or you want to get an extra chain link going. 50% hit rate on this seems pretty good. But then when I was actually playing games over the weekend, I found that I was never siding this in. If my opponents were going to be disruptive and play CNCs and that kind of stuff, I was always taking Crown of Providence. And then in the games where I was trying to race mostly against, say, like ninjas or other warriors, these kinds of things, I found I was playing with the new legendary helm more often than not. So the Helm of Sharp Eye, although it was in the list all weekend, didn't get played once. Like it just never kind of seemed like a good option compared to these ones. That being said, I haven't been playing against the full meta's worth of decks. I'm only playing in the open CC, so there's a lot of Assassin, right? People are trying out the new stuff. There's a lot of Syndra, for which the Kabuto is really, really good. So I could see trying the Helm of Sharp Eye again once the set officially drops, and we could play against all the decks available. Have you had a chance to play with it yet? Okay, just a quick overview of the deck. We have 15 blues, and we have blues that are good in all game states. So I want blues that are good even after we've hit 3 fealty. So you'll see cards that can pop up a little bit, lots of block 3s, and they're basically all attack reactions except for the Sworn Vengeances and the Relentless Pursuits. Because sometimes you do brick, you don't draw that Draconic attack reaction. And if you have a couple fealty built up, you can turn one of these into a Draconic attack and keep the gas going. Okay, Brun, you're in the building phase right now, trying to figure out the blue count. So for me, 15 has felt really good. And there's a caveat to that. I'm playing Grains of Bloodspill all the time. And one of my goals that I'm actively trying to do throughout the game, when it makes sense, is to get a Vigor token and then kind of float it through my different turns. There is a decent number of hands where you brick and you draw all 4 reds, which isn't a problem if you have your 3 fealty, but before that, this really slows you down. So I found even just having 1 Vigor token, even if you draw a hand of all reds, you can block with 3 of your cards, send a dagger with the Vigor token, and then play a Draconic attack react. Even if you can't get the second swing in, this just keeps your fealty counters around. So 15 blues, but specifically with the Grains of Bloodspill has felt pretty good to me. Oh, awesome. You're on Grains as well. Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, 15 blues, mostly attack reactions in the blue count. Everything blocks 3 except the Scar Tissues. Scar Tissues are in here because they can help mark our opponent. Again, we're trying to turbo out fealty, so the more cards we have that say things like fealty or mark on them, it's going to help us do that. We are playing 3 sets of attack actions The Blaze Headlongs are just extenders, 0 for 4 in the middle between your two dagger swings. We have the Oath of Loyalties, which are starters. It's the card that I brick on the most. Sorry, not brick. The card that I've been punting with the most over the weekend. Just there are a couple little interactions. If you draw multiples of these, not great. If you draw this with a non-attack that isn't Draconic, not great. So you just have to be really careful. I found, particularly if my opponent plays a Codex of Fealty against me, I have to remember that if this card is going into my arsenal and I want to play it on my next turn, I have to kind of tailor how I'm blocking so that I'm not left with a bunch of generic warrior cards. But it's been pretty good. And then For the Drakai has also been really good because we are trying to turbo out Fealty. And if you get your opponent marked, you can have this in your hand, block with your 3 other cards, and then on your turn, you can just send this by itself. It's going to generate a Fealty for free, unconditional. And then if it hits your opponent, you get a second Fealty. So I found For the Drakai is one of the ways that you can really build up your Fealty counters really quick. And even in the meantime, if you're not hitting your 3 Fealty, it does by itself keep whatever Fealty you have built up on the board. So like I said, it's kind of a mid-rangey Fi where some turns we're just blocking with 3 cards, sending 1 card. And once we hit all 3 Fealty, then we're still blocking a good amount of the time, just trying to outvalue the opponent. Blood of the Drakai, counting like a blue. So I don't really want to be pitching reds, and I really tried to prioritize cards that get Fealty or get my opponent marked. So if a card doesn't have one of those 2 effects on it, it has to be really premium, or it has to be some kind of Draconic card or something like that. So I'm really hoping not to pitch multiple reds and get the extra value off of this. Like I don't want to be pitching this card because I might not even spend the resources. At the point where you have your 3 Fealty, this card is kind of dead as well. Hey Isaiah. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm kind of curious what you're up to for RTNs because all the decks you tend to play tend to beat these kind of decks. Like Riptide seems pretty good into Fang right now. Kano, I only played 1 Kano, but it was pretty rough. They just, they block really well, and then you're kind of giving them a bit of a time to set up. And Warrior traditionally doesn't have great arcane barrier options, so yeah, I'm curious. Maybe we'll run into a Kano tonight. Yeah, that's the big question, Jacob. Do we need to play AB? What is Isaiah doing? What is Adrian doing? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple of draw fours. I just realized recently that Fabry has this option, and sometimes when I'm streaming, it's a lot to talk about the hand, talk about strategy, actually play at a reasonable pace. So I figured what I would do is I would just do a couple draw fours, kind of talk through what I'm looking for in each hand. And then after we do this, we'll jump into games and actually do some battling. So this hand, to me, looks like one of the worst hands to draw when you don't have your fealties in place and you don't have a vigor up. But it's not really even that bad. Most of the time, the hunts end. If we draw this anytime before we get our fealties, we're just blocking with it. Block 3. So it's just going to go in and help preserve our life total a little bit while we're trying to build up. Even after we hit 3 fealty, if I have another Draconic React in hand, sometimes I'm just blocking with these. Especially against the assassins when you're trying to keep some semblance of a hand and block some on hits and stuff. This one blocks quite a bit. Stabbing Pain, pretty good. It does cost 1, so this is a card I'm most likely to try and pitch. If I don't have a blue in hand or I don't have a floating vigor, the 1 costs are basically unplayable, so they become the pitch cards. We have this Searing Gaze here, which is going to mark our opponent. And usually turn 0, turn 1, I'm trying as hard as I can to get fealty and mark my opponents. So when I look at this hand, I think I would probably run this out a little bit. I'm probably pitching the Hunt's End, swing. Tooth of the Dragon is my react. If my opponent has committed blocks to the first dagger, that's great, because this is going to back pump onto the second dagger, which dovetails really nicely with the Searing Gaze, because we want to push this marked effect through. So with the +3 from the Tooth and then +3 from this, effectively, we're swinging for 7, threatening to mark our opponent on the second dagger. So that's something I'll be doing here. Okay, next hand. This one's all red as well. Long Whisker Loyalty, like most Warrior M's, becomes a 3-block a lot of the time. It has the same text as a lot of the other common and rare reacts. Right, we're going to mark someone, we're going to get +2. Giving the extra dagger swing doesn't come up all that much. Sometimes it's nice to just get the extra 1 point of value in, but I would say I've been blocking with this card a lot, and I've been giving +2 a lot. And then if I think that I'm going to hit and I don't have my 3 fealties, sometimes I just run this out and mark my opponent. It's a little bit numbers inefficient that way, but until I get my 3 fealties, I actually don't care that much about the numbers on the cards. I'm just trying to turbo out the 3 fealty. So again, a little bit of a rough hand. It is nice to have the Oath of Loyalty here, because it pushes all of our chain links up a little bit. So I'm probably, if I'm pre-fealty online, I'm probably running out the Oath of Loyalty, and I'm trying to play this Endear Devotion at chain link 2. So my turn is probably Oath of Loyalty, pitch a red, swing with a dagger, Endear Devotion, build a fealty, and I'm probably blocking for 3 with one of my other 2 cards. If my opponent lets me keep my hand, then sure, I'll swing with the second dagger. But because we have the Oath starter, I'm probably playing Endear Devotion on my first dagger swing, and I don't really care if I get the second dagger swing. All right, looking at the chat here. Isaiah, do you feel like this deck is susceptible to fatigue? So specifically against new, because most of my experience has been against assassins so far. Against new, the deck count does get pretty low. You really need to get your fealties online quick against the assassins. They're obviously way better than you in the late game. And even if you can get online, by turn 3, they're really, really good at eating apart your deck, especially if you're not blocking all that much. So yeah, I would say it's susceptible to fatigue. I've had a couple games where I've won and, I'm on 4 cards left, 8 cards left. I did get fatigued once by a new. So I think it's possible, but it has to be proactive fatiguing, like what the assassins do when they're ripping apart your hand and also banishing cards. I think if your opponent sits back and just kind of blocks out every turn, you can generate your fealty and then outnumbers them pretty quick. So I don't think like a Guardian fatigue strategy would be great. That being said, I haven't played against a Guardian yet, so we're when the set becomes openly available and we get like a wider range of decks to play against, I'm curious to see that as well. So far, it hasn't been an issue except specifically new. Oh, Jacob, you're saying 15 blues is a bit light. Hey. Interesting. Okay. So 15's a bit light. I could see that as well. I have in my deck 15 blues, and I don't have any yellows. One of the things I was thinking in some of my games is maybe throwing in some yellows, kind of downgrading some of the reds into yellows, but at least they can functionally work like pitch cards if you need them to. The problem is the really good Draconic cards are all red, so you are kind of handicapping your top end. Plus, I don't want to take anything out of my deck that says mark or fealty. So are you going to cut, maybe some of these attack actions? I think this one's been really good. The Oath is a really good starter. Are you cutting like Savor Bloodshed? Maybe. When your opponent is marked, and you threaten the draw card. Seems really good, but you know what? Maybe this is a card that could come out. Yellow scar tissue. Yeah, so yellow scar tissue is a good thought. I am a fan of the scar tissues. Two is usually pretty good, Isaiah. So the cost curve is usually two. You have a fair number of zero cost reacts. So like the affirm loyalties are good. The whiskers, the searing gaze as well, the tooths. These are all zero cost reacts. I do really like having the third resource though, because if I hit and I don't have anything to do with that resource, what I'll do is I'll generate a vigor token off of grains. And then I'm quite happy to just float that turn to turn. If I'm always using that, if I don't need to pitch or use one resource for a react. Because here's the thing, once you hit 3 fealty, you don't want to pay for anything. You want to drop your cards, you want to use them all either to block or deal damage. And so if you're floating a vigor token and then you get to 3 fealty, and the only draconic react you draw is a 1 cost react, it doesn't shut down your turn and you can still kind of go all gas with that. So having the ability to pitch blues but keep the resources turn to turn as a vigor has seemed really important to me. And I was saying this right at the beginning of the stream, you might have missed it, Isaiah, but the other thing that Vigor lets you do is if you do brick, because your blue count is 15, and you have a Vigor, you can block with 3 cards, keep a Draconic React in hand, and then use your Vigor to swing a dagger, play the React. You don't get your second dagger swing, but what it does is it keeps your fealty stack in check. So you can still swing, deal a little bit of damage maybe, but then build up for the next turn. We actually haven't drawn a representative hand yet. We got those like all red hands. Most of the time we get a blue, and like maybe this is an interesting one to look at here too. So kind of light. We don't have the draconic react that's going to give our swords go again, and for that reason, you know, getting to 3 fealty is great. Finding a 4th fealty also a bit of a priority, because if you draw a hand like this, you can turn your Blade Flurry into a Draconic card and kind of keep your flow going. I'm not sure if I would play Provoke right now in this meta, because if new is a pretty big deal, getting triple provoked by your opponent with your own cards is just kind of demoralizing, and that happened to me. So I think I would probably find a less impactful blue for the news to play and swap this out and just kind of keep these in the binder until new isn't as big of a thing. That, or maybe having some, you know, different blues in the sideboard that I could bring in. Okay, let's jump into a game. I'm going to minimize the chat because I cannot look at chat and play at the same time and talk. So I will talk to you all in, 25 minutes or something like that. But we'll jump into a game. Please feel free to chat with each other. And if you leave messages in the chat, I'll respond to them when we finish our game. Let's start it up. I think I'm playing Crown on Providence most games, unless it's going to be impactful, like against Fang or Syndra. And I've been going first every time because I want to get fealty as quick as I can. And sometimes you can end up with a fealty and a mark turn 0, and it just really, really helps you get online faster. Against Fang, I'm just going to bring in these D-Reacts I've been playing. I've been thinking about switching these out, or maybe trying that new generic 0 for 4 that you can pitch as an instant and get all the little ones off of it. And I'm bringing in Sworn Vengeance, just expecting my opponent not to block as much, so anything that can give us extra marks seems good. If the Fangs start playing more defensively, like I have been, then I might just go straight for the Pledge fealties. Unconditional fealty creation. It's been really good. I usually only play this against really defensive decks, assassins, decks with a lot of D-reacts, but if people start playing a block heavy game in these mirrors, I might bring in the pledges. Okay, and we don't have the ability to create fealty this turn outside of our attack here, right? So what we can do is we could play this Relentless Pursuit, mark our opponent, which is what we're going to do right away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swing for the Drakai. We're going to get a fealty right away. If this hits, we'll get a second fealty. I mean, it is turn 0, so they're not likely to be able to... they're probably going to block it out, but this is kind of exactly what we want. We've marked the opponent, and we've got one fealty all ready to go. And I'm going to put the starter, the Draconic starter, in the arsenal here. And we missed on finding a Draconic React. So my goal next turn is, if all I do is swing Oath of Loyalty, block with the rest of my hand, I'm okay with that. Oath of Loyalty is going to keep my fealty intact. It will threaten the mark effect. Opponent also playing Sworn Vengeance here. They're trying to mark us. So this is something that I am incentivized to block. They're currently attacking for 4. Most reacts are for 2 + 1. So we will try and block 7 here. Hunt's End doesn't do anything for us this early in the game. Because you need 3 fealty to play it. So it's just a really nice block card right now. Okay. So our opponent did opt to play Pledge Fealty. That might be the right choice in these Fang mirrors. We'll find out. Now we have to kind of worry about getting hit for 5. So I'll probably just block out. Try to not get... I guess they hit us anyway, so probably didn't have to block everything there. Yeah, we'll just swing Oath of Loyalty. This will maintain our fealty, and again, threatens to mark them if they don't block it. I'm sure our opponent is just comfortable blocking with 3 plus Dynamos here, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, the D-React. This D-React's been good. Drawing a card when you need it, usually after you're online and you just want to extend a bit, has been pretty good. Okay, so we have the hand we need. We have Draconic React, we have a blue, and we have 2 cards that we're going to end up blocking with. We could also block with some of our cards and then swing for the Drakai. Guaranteed fealty again. I think I would favor that line of thinking, so I'm just going to try and block out here, save a bit of life. If we keep the Stabbing Pain, great. It can go in the arsenal. If we have to block with it here, that's fine. Our opponent bricking as well. They actually had to break a fealty there. And yeah, when you need to do that, you just do that. Any react my opponent plays is going to go over top of the 2 damage. So I think I'll just keep this for the arsenal. And I'm going to play for the Drakai, make my second fealty, and threaten a 3rd. Okay, and they're choosing to make a Vigor and arsenal. That makes sense. So yeah, we're just jostling for a position, trying to be the first person to get 3 fealty. And this is a real attack if our opponent doesn't want to block. The fates are interesting. I wonder what that means. I did have it in mind that maybe throwing in a couple extra D-reacts might be good. I just don't want to resort to putting in fates and sinks right away. They're just so boring. It's like the least interesting cards in the world. Okay, we're on 2 fealty. We do want to try and hit our opponent. We have a hand that can do it. Oath of Loyalty into Blaze Headlong into Dagger, Pump, Mark, Dagger plus Blade Flurry. I feel like this is a turn where I just take everything. Doesn't matter what they do to me. This is the hand that will get us to our 3 fealty. We're almost guaranteed to hit them. And then once we're there, we're going to be so much more efficient than them. And this is all just damage. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Oh, I guess Blade Flurry is not Draconic. That might end up being an Arsenal card. That's okay. So, because Oath of Loyalty, once you play this, you can only play Draconic cards after that. So maybe I should have blocked with the Blade Flurry, but I'm planning on emptying out my arsenal in my hand. So it's okay for the Blade Flurry to go to the arsenal here. I said that my opponent probably couldn't block us out, but if they have multiple 4 defense D-reacts, then we might have an issue. Yeah, they're trying really hard to prevent this, which makes sense. And this is going to go to 5 now, so I don't know if they're going to be able to block that one out. Okay, so they did have another D-react. Wow, this is a really defensive Fang. If the Fang decks start looking like this, we're definitely putting the pledges in. I don't want a Vigor. There is a thought to pitch the Blade Flurry for Vigor. Oh, I totally missed that we hit there. So we can get a Vigor off of this one. Yeah. Okay. I feel pretty good. We have our 3 fealties and we have a Vigor. So we want to use our hand to block really well, essentially. We're going to keep floating the Vigor forward. We have our React that we need, an Extender, can deal some damage with the Blade Flurry. We even have an extra fealty here, so let's throw some Dynamos and a card. See what they do. Okay. Because they left us with an extra blue, I might try and bank a couple Vigors this turn. I might even end up pitching to Braveforge Bracers, which is really rare. Normally you don't use Braveforge Bracers because it breaks the chain, and our Draconic reactions want us to keep high chain links. But let's see what we can do. We have so many resources. We have to play the Draconic Long Whisker Loyalty. We could also make our Blade Flurry Draconic and then get a second mode on this, and I think we might do that. Because then we can mark our opponent or swing with another dagger or do something like that. So let's turn the Blade Flurry into a Draconic react. Nothing else we want to do. We have so many resources. We're going to create a Vigor every time. Send the Blaze headlong. We're going to get all 3 modes on Long Whisker Loyalty because the attack actions also count towards that. Don't use Braveforge Bracers until after you've played your Draconic React that needs chain links. But we can use the Bracers for our last swing. So our last swing here for 2. We've pulled our life total back where our opponent was. We made them block a little bit. And we've netted a Vigor. We still have all our fealty. And I'm just keeping everything, right? This is a 0-cost react. This is a 0-cost react. This is a 0-cost react. And we actually have a provoke here, and we have the Vigor up. So this hand's great. If our opponent goes to interact with us, or they like maybe block a bit too much, we can make them block with an extra card. I'm also totally fine blocking with the provoke if we need to. So between the provoke and the dynamos, we have 4 block baked into our turn. But if we end up keeping this, good for us. Yeah, that's really common. It playing Long Whisker Loyalty on the first chain link, marking your opponent does seem like one of the more powerful things you can do. I think a lot of people might think the damage is where you want to be, but again, we're in the fealty battle, so now we might be incentivized to block a bit so our opponent can't get their third fealty. Although they might just have a card in hand that gets it for them. Oh, they're breaking the chain. Okay. So that means they don't have a react that builds fealty. So I want to block this if possible. They're probably gonna go +3 on this. So I would need to block 5. I'm okay blocking with the provoke. Dynamos is free. And like I said, we need to block 5. I might even just block with the Searing Gaze as well. Just to keep them off the 3 fealty. See if our opponent does any blocking here. Yeah, so they did use defensive value on the first swing, which is why Tooth of the Dragon is so good. We still get our go again, but they waste some points of value. And I'm just trying to deal damage here and keep my vigor floated, so I might not even play this Hunt's End. I just want to deal the most damage I can. Yeah, that's fine. I'll keep my vigor in case I draw a 1-cost react I need to play next turn. Looks like we didn't. We have this for our first chain link, the Affirm Loyalty for the second chain link, which will also give us a fealty. We can float the vigors forward, so looks like we're blocking with our 2 blues, plus dynamos is 7. This is just a 0 for 4, which always seems good. So I'll probably fall for the same trap they did. Block 4 on the first chain link. And if it's any react besides Tooth, then we're okay. They went up to 3 fealty anyway, so now it's like a full-on race. This is interesting. This is probably the most interesting game I've played against Fang. Okay, so they can attack 2 more times for 4, plus however many reacts they have. I think that's okay. Okay, so they put it with a very powerful, very powerful turn here. And Long Whisker Loyalty. Wow, this is really cool. I was not super impressed with the Fire and Brimstone card, so I don't actually have it in my deck. But if you pair this with exactly Long Whisker Loyalty on a tall chain or a wide chain, that seems pretty good to me. Just getting hit all over the place here. That was a cool turn. That was sweet. Okay, we're just dealing damage. Pump up our first attack. We don't get the extra marked text, which is okay. It's still a 0 for 4 on our dagger. We'll save the Affirm Loyalty for our second dagger so we can build another fealty. We're floating the vigor forward. And reclaiming our dynamo value as well. Putting our opponent down to 2 cards. So they probably just had some cards that didn't really do that much otherwise. but they're going to be just as effective on 2 cards now because of their fealty count. So what can we do? We have Loyalty Beyond the Grave. I don't think we've played another one of these yet. So this will be our first one. We definitely want to block with this if we can. Tooth can buff up our second chain. We have the 1 floating Vigor to play in Deer Devotion, which is nice. And we have this Sworn Vengeance. Because we're behind on life, I think I'm okay blocking a little bit more and just try and wait for a really good turn for ourselves. So we can block some damage here. Just gonna bide my time until I draw the nuts hand and then take some damage and go back at them. It's possible. This one I might let hit. They might want to arsenal a card, and if they pitch this for a Vigor, I think okay. Yeah, just 1 damage. Okay, my plan this turn is to bait some blocks on the first dagger with the Sworn Vengeance, and then use Tooth of the Dragon to really load up the second dagger so it's quite large. Another, man, I love Tooth of the Dragon. For a while I had it out of the deck, but it's been so good because you really want to spread out your Draconic cards across the daggers so that you get the pumps off of both. And this one lets you get the pump off the first dagger, play your other react on the second dagger to get the pump as well, but then it like overloads it. So yeah, very, very happy with Tooth of the Dragon, even though it doesn't block. Right, so we're buying some blocks. Yeah, buying some blocks on the first one, which is great, and then we're going to load up the second one and try and push some damage here. And we'll get another guaranteed fealty. So if we brick on Draconic stuff, we can turn one of our cards into Draconic and keep our stack. The opponent does have 3 cards, which is going to be... Okay, now they're down to 2. Wow, the opponent is playing all the D-reacts. That's crazy. We almost bricked, but we have the 0-cost Draconic reaction here. We have a Scar Tissue that we're going to use for damage. And we have the Loyalty Beyond the Grave. That'll be our second one in the bin. So if we ever need to draw an extra card, we'll have that. And we have a Provoke that I think we'll use as blocks. If we happen to have it in our hand, that's great because we can reset our Vigor, but... Yeah, I think I'll play my react right now just to save a bit of life. Then use boots, and we might actually end up with the Provoke in hand. So we can get a Vigor, maybe even more than one. I'm going to save these until I need them, or I think I can kill them. If I was playing against an assassin like New, I would definitely use it as soon as I could, but I don't think Fang is going to be able to influence our graveyard. So let's go ahead and get in there. It might be worth playing the Scar Tissue on the first attack to try and get the mark in. But at this point, we don't need more fealty, so I'll probably save it for the second dagger because we do have those non-attacks in our deck that have some added benefit if the hero is marked. And we don't have a ton of ways to mark them at this point. So marking them at the end of the chain is probably better. I can't play this right now. I guess I could play this. Nah, it's not going to matter. All right, so let's bump this up. We're going to reset our Vigor token. And we'll actually be able to get a Brave Forge Bracers activation here as well, because the Scar Tissue doesn't require us to have multiple chain links. So we'll just eke out as much incidental value from that as we can. If I go to 5 here, they get to blow us out with a D-react. And I kind of like the idea of having extra vigor. So I'm just going to pass and save the scar tissue. Get my vigor guaranteed. And move on from there. Oh, yeah. Okay. So maybe it would have been good to play the scar tissue because we drew the exact card I was talking about. But it's okay because although this just pumps up the first attack, it sees the marked condition for the whole turn. So we can use the scar tissue on our first attack next turn, mark the opponent, and then if the second attack hits, or the third attack, because we might get a third attack with Long Whisker loyalty, it's going to see it the whole time. So this is a hand I'm just going to keep. This looks like a pretty good hand. No pre-pumps or anything, so I'm just going to block. Or sorry, I'm just going to pass. We do have a lot of extra armor. I'm kind of waiting for my opponent to play something like one of these non-attacks to try and get value off the Kabuto, but we'll see. We are at a pretty precarious life total if our opponent like triple reacts on the end, and they might have another one of those turns where they're trying to go over the top. So at this point, I probably want to block a bit. Realistically, what can they do? They can go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ugh. So we might actually have to block quite a bit. I don't really want them to attack again this turn. I like all the cards I have. I don't know if the Searing Gaze is that necessary because I can swing once, react. Oh, I have to keep the Searing Gaze to react to swing a third time. I just don't want to take a ton of damage. They have to pump 8? They've already used a couple of these Hunt's Ends. I don't know if they can do it. Eeh. This is a little spoopy. I'll just throw a bit of armor. I don't want to die here. My plan is to use the D-reacts in our graveyard to draw another card and try and have a really big turn here. See what we can do. Nice. So we have the provoke. So even if our opponent tries to keep a bunch of cards, we can get them with the provoke. And yeah, let's do it. So we do want to preserve chain links. So let's start with our non-attack because we don't want to break the chain later. And if our opponent ever commits a lot of blocks to a chain, I'm going to provoke them. If they overblock at all. But here they're not. So let's go with our Searing Gaze to get go again. And I do want to mark them as well so that I can potentially draw a card this turn. So we'll go up to Scar Tissue to try and mark them. Pass. Isaiah, you were talking about fatigue. We're at 23 cards. I don't... Oh, my opponent played more than 60, that's why. 67, 68, 69. Okay, so they just fat stacked against us. That's really interesting to me. Okay, so we hit them. We can float our vigor and still have something to pay for the provoke, so I will... I'm not going to do this yet, just in case we hit them and draw a 1-cost card off of Savor Bloodshed. We're going to have other opportunities to do that. So let's swing with our dagger. Normally I would be building chain links with Blaze Headlong, but I don't want them to just take this damage and then they lose the mark and we lose the chance to draw a card. So I'm going to actually swing the dagger here. because I want to hit them with a dagger so that I can draw a card. And now we can get our 2 effects. We're going to buff power to try and hit them. We're also going to get an additional attack with our dagger this turn. If they block out this dagger swing, we might still be able to draw a card later. But yeah, so we drew this, and we drew like the exact card we don't want to draw, because this has to be the first card you play each turn. So this is definitely going in our arsenal to start our turn next turn. At this point, we can safely make a Vigor. We can play our Extender, our Blaze Headlong. And then we're going to swing our last dagger and provoke them. Yeah, they're going down to 2 cards here. So we might be able to screw up their turn with the provoke. Odds are they don't block this. So we provoke them, get a card out of their hand. They discarded a sink? Is that what happened? We can. I don't want to make another Vigor. We don't have anything floating. I want this to be in my arsenal. So that goes there. The life totals are close, but we have a full hand, and they're going to go 4 into 1. So the most they can deal to us is 5 damage. Our hand isn't that great, actually. And it's nice that we have the extra fealties, because we actually bricked on drawing a Draconic card. But between the Blade Flurry, the Scar Tissue, and everything else, I think we'll be able to pressure them again. But I'm just going to block effectively here. When they swing the dagger, I'll take it, because I'm going to use this blue to build up my Vigors again. And maybe pitch to Brave Forge Bracers, just to try and eke out value. We have to start with Oath of Loyalty. Oh, sorry. Oath of Loyalty is a Draconic card. We do have to use the fealties to give our daggers go again, though. So let's make sure we remember to do that. They're trying to min block. It would be nice to pull out a D-react here on this Blade Flurry, so that we can hit them with the Scar Tissue later. Yes, I want Vigor. The number of chain links doesn't matter, and I have so many resources, so I can pitch to Brave Forge Bracers, swing, and we'll have to break a fealty to make the Scar Tissue Draconic, because we started with Oath. But that's okay. We had a surplus. There you have it. Game 1 to us. It was a little dicey there, not gonna lie, when the opponent pulled off that huge turn with the, what was it, the Fire and Brimstone, and full value from Long Whisker Loyalty, and they went like dagger for 2, dagger for 2, dagger for 2. That was pretty cool. I wonder, opponent played a ton of D-reacts. The problem I see with that is when you're swinging daggers at them, sometimes you don't get the full 4 value from these. And if you load your deck up with D-reacts, you're less likely to draw the consistent Draconic cards plus damage dealing cards. Oh, they're even playing Sigil. Interesting. So that was a really interesting game. That was the closest game I've had against a Fang. Not for any particular reasons, but I've found the deck I have built, with its ability to block with most of its cards because they're 3s, and then turbo out the fealty otherwise. Usually I'm online quite a bit faster than my opponents, but their ultra defensive build was interesting. That was that was interesting. Really interesting game, actually. That's right, Isaiah. How about them apples? Yeah. Yeah, Isaiah, I agree. Diluting your deck with the D reacts. I think having a couple is good, but that's where this new M actually seems to fill a pretty nice niche. Where is it? The MD react. This one? Because it gives you, a couple incidences where you can be a little bit tricky with your blocks. But then what it does is it fuels a big turn later on. Or if you get disrupted or you just draw the brickiest turn that ever bricked, maybe you're playing against an assassin or something, and they strip your entire hand and your arsenal and you have nothing, at least you have the ability to draw a random card off the top. And if it's anything that you can play, cracking a fealty, at least you can keep your chip stack maintained without losing all the fealty. Because dropping down to 0 fealty after you've spent a lot of resources building it up seems really is just crushing. So anyway, that was a sweet game. I'm happy we got the win on that one. Again, like I said, kind of dicey in the middle, but just trying to maximize resources. Look how important the vigor token was to us that turn. We did nothing with it, right? We did nothing with it, nothing with it, nothing with it. And then there was a turn where we had a 1 cost react. So we spend the vigor, we get a free 1 cost react after we already are online. And then there was a turn where we had like a couple, like 2 blues in our hand. We blocked with 1, and then the opponent sent kind of a mediocre attack. And I was like, okay, let's keep this blue in our hand to rebuild the vigor. So then we attacked, we rebuilt vigors, did nothing with it, nothing with it. And then we had an extra provoke, right? We just happened to have a provoke hanging out. The opponent went down to 2 cards in hand, which is what they want, probably. I think it was a D react plus a Draconic card. And the provoke stripped a D react that they then couldn't use to block on our big turn. So I think just floating that resource forward seems really important in this deck. We didn't see any big bricks on our side, but again, having the vigor token can kind of get you out of a brick as well. So yeah, that was pretty sweet. Probably going to jump into another game right away here, unless anybody has things they want to chat about. There are a couple cards that might get swapped out of this. I really like this base of my deck. This 54 feels really, really good, which is awesome because then we have so much flexibility in bringing in 6 cards, kind of reshaping the deck. The sideboard is feeling okay. I definitely like the Loyalty Beyond the Grave. I would say this is probably in my deck 90% of the time. I'm probably just the only decks I'm not playing this against are like the Wizards and stuff. Other than that, this card just feels really important. Pledge Fealty has been really good against ultra defensive decks. If I knew my opponent was on that super heavy D-React build of Fang, I probably would have brought these in instead of the Sworn Vengeances. I didn't expect them to block that much, which is why I brought in the on-hit mark effect. But now that I'm thinking about it, and like with the way I play Fang, where I'm pretty defensive, maybe it is better to just bring in the Pledge Fealties. Slap Happies, I haven't played with these yet. Someone in the Purple Discord recommended them to help against the Wizards. So, maybe we'll run into a Wizard and we can try them out. I also clearly have not figured out what my strategy is for Arcane Barrier. You can see I just have like a whole bunch of random null room pieces. Everything else is in the maybe pile. I haven't figured out quite what I want to do yet against like Rune Blades, against Wizards, the different kinds of Wizards. So that's something I'm definitely going to have to figure out if I choose to bring this deck to any events soon. Okay, Isaiah, no Slap Happies. Wizard doesn't exist. Yeah, no Kano players in Calgary worth mentioning anyway. So yeah, maybe we can take them out. Anyway, let's jump into another game. that was pretty fun. Like I said, I'm closing the chat during the games because it's too distracting for me. But if you throw comments in there and stuff, I'll definitely answer them when I finish a game. So let's jump in. Ooh, Kasai? That's interesting. Can't play them. Okay. Yeah, I'm always looking for things I haven't tried yet. Here, let's play this Syndra. I think a lot of people are really interested in Syndra, so let's play against them. I've had pretty good success against Syndra. I think the headpiece here really helps you because it basically shuts off one of their really big setup go wide turns. And they're also bad at blocking. So this is definitely a time where we bring in all of the aggressive type cards. With the on hits, no need to have the pledge fealties here. They are ninjas, so they have reacts as well. So again, this D-react is just been really good for me. And then on the turn where you want to really put pressure on, you can cash these in for a card. So. Sweet. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this will go. We are starting off here. We don't have a way to make marks or fealties, which is a little bit annoying. We can try to push a bit of damage. Our first attack is going to be a vanilla 4 into 4 into 1. Probably make a vigor off the Hunsen because this card is useless until we get 3 fealties. And then put the D-react in the arsenal. Oh, we don't even need the pitch. What am I talking about? Okay. So what do we even do? What do you even do? We have to pitch 2 cards just to swing twice and arsenal this. I don't think that's worth it. So I think I'm just passing here. Just so I don't give them a chance to filter. That's pretty sad, but we still get to arsenal and D-react. And we draw the exact card we need. So we drew blue. This is going to turn our, basically fuel our turn. Our Draconic React is 0, so this is going to make a Vigor. We have an Extender, and I have a 3-block here. Ooh. Interesting. And they pitched the blue. I wonder if I'm supposed to block with the helmet here. This is one of the cards that's like a signpost for you're about to get hit a lot. I think I want to see one more card first. I think I'll just block this with the Hunt Send. If they had done some setup and had 5 cards, I'd probably be slamming the helmet here. But I don't know how much I want to respect this. Like 2, 2, 2, 2 is pretty good. If they have another blue. I guess they don't need another blue, right? Oh, they need another blue to fuel the weapons. Huh. That's interesting. This will be a good litmus test of if you're just supposed to slam the helmet the first time you see Spreading Flames. Because they had pitched the blue and everything. But if their other 2 cards are just red attacks or something, and they can't actually get the extra value off attacking with the kunais again, I'll be happy that I saved the Kabuto. So, yeah. Not going to block that. Other interesting note, they're playing Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. I've seen most Syndras playing Mask of Momentum, in which case I would be trying to break up the chain links here, but this just looks like a damage dealing turn. So let's get our blocks in here. I think I could probably save the D-react. There's no on hits. Yeah. And now we fire back. We're going to try and make a Vigor this turn. We're going to reset the Dynamos. We're already at 28, but I've found this happens quite a bit. The first sort of turn by Syndra, we just take a whole bunch of damage. And remember, our goal is to preserve our life while we are trying to build up fealty, and we don't really have any fealty generators or anything around us. So we do want to try and preserve our life a little bit. Like maybe I was even supposed to block out last turn. Because my hand is fine. Like, we dealt 9 damage, made a vigor, but we haven't generated any fealty, and we really need that to turn on, um, our super efficient turns. So now this makes me curious: why are they pitching this, pitching to play this rather than blocking with it? Maybe they just want to attack with daggers a bunch, gets the extra value from their daggers. I don't really know. I'm not sure. Let's look at our hand. So we have a pre-pump, a blue to fuel our turn. We have our go again. This is just a card we can block with, or maybe we can arsenal it, because if we end up marking our opponent at the end of next turn, this is guaranteed fealty. So I don't think I'm blocking with anything except probably this D-React this turn. There's no on hits yet. Warmongers is kind of an interesting inclusion. Somebody suggested it for Fang, actually, which is a pretty good idea. My build of Fang has a couple of these non-attack pre-pumps, so I'm not sure how much I want the Warmongers, but I guess if it's bad, you just block with it, and it's fine that way. Yeah, no issues yet. So we're going to save our D-React for something bigger than 1, and we'll use the Dynamos to block something as well. Like, do you think they have something relatively large on the end here? I guess every one of these daggers is dealing 2 damage, so I'm okay using the Dynamos here. We actually get 2 value off Dynamos because this Poison Blade buffs up all the kunais. So we do want to play the Loyalty card. What is going on? Oh yeah, they're throwing all the daggers at us. So they're actually pumping out quite a bit of damage here. And we don't have any fealties, so we, if their attacks are a little bit bigger, I might choose to block with like this Sworn Vengeance. But I also want it because I want to be marking my opponent. I don't think I play this yet. I don't want to see what their last card is. Worst case scenario, we can throw the Loyalty on the last dagger or something, because it still blocks 2. But yeah, this has been a pretty good turn for them. This might have also been a good turn to use the helmet, because they effectively got 8 to 10 value off of their swords this turn. It's pretty good. Plus another 2. Like, they did so much hitting and flicking that might be the answer to the riddle, why they played this first. Okay, and then Salt the Wound. Yeah, that's really nice on the end. I think I'm going to try and preserve my life a little bit here. So I do want to try and mark my opponent. And this creates fealty. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of went sideways on us. I think we need to slow down a little bit. So I'll preserve some life. Try and mark my opponent, who is not that likely to block. So we can mark them on the first one, and then if we hit, we could actually... Oh no, sorry, we have to play this right now. My bad. Yeah, so we're just trying to mark them. We do want our vigor. We don't have anything that cares about chain links, so we'll pump up with Brave Forge Bracers. Reset the dynamos. Now we have a fealty, which is pretty cool. We have a vigor. And we're 10 life behind, but they are on 4 cards, and we still have all our armor. Ooh, and we drew the Loyalty Beyond the Grave. That's really nice. And they don't have daggers, so I expect their turn to kind of be a little meh. What do we have to do? Because we don't have our blue. So we're going to have to play Oath of Loyalty as our Draconic card. We are going to swing a dagger and mark them. And then we're going to put this Savor Bloodshed in the arsenal because our opponent will be marked. So this will give us extra value on the turn after this one. So we're definitely blocking with our D-React. Pass. I don't know if I need to block the Hurl, but it lines up really nice here. And then that's 2 D-Reacts in our graveyard. This is just 3 damage. Maybe I'm just supposed to block with this. Save a bit of life. Yeah, if they had sent some smaller attacks, I might not do this, but we are behind on life, and I think we need to buy our time a little bit. What are you? Next Draconic attacks this combat chain. Your next Draconic attack. This combat chain gets +1. Okay. Well, we don't want to die with extra armor. We aren't going to get the Valiant Dynamo value this turn, so I think I might just let this hit. Ooh! Okay, into 6. So now I'll probably have to use a little bit of. Again, it's just damage. But yeah, we're definitely getting beat down here. The Singers are definitely getting better. I don't think I want to use this card yet, because we do have a Draconic card. I'd rather wait until we really need it. So I'll just run out Oath of Loyalty as my Draconic for the turn, use my Vigor to swing and hopefully mark my opponent. The game plan is still to get 3 Fealty. We're just going to play more defensively, block out a little bit, try and get 3 Fealty, and then at that point we can start turning the tide. Oh, we can't play this. That's my bad. Yeah. Forgot about that. Like I said, this is the card I punt on the most. We actually can't play it because it's not a Draconic card. So this one's going in the arsenal. And they're on a 2-card hand, getting their daggers back. And then passing? Yeah, okay. Okay, we don't need this card yet. We have our pitch card, we have an extender. We have something that can... No, this isn't going to get us Fealty. But we are going to be able to mark our opponent. It would be really nice to have another Draconic react this turn so we could get the Fealty off of this. So even though our hand is good, I think I am going to use these. No, we didn't hit one. That's okay. Because we can use the Relentless Pursuit to mark our opponent, and that might build Fealty. So let's mark them. And then let's swing. And we're going to be able to get a Vigor this turn as well. And we might as well mark them again, because we might be able to get all of our Fealties this turn. And then next turn we'll be online. Yes, I want a Vigor. And then I'll Blaze headlong into you. Opponent's just taking all of it, so I feel like I'm blocking with the headpiece next turn. Oh, and we have 3 Fealty. Look at that. So we can actually do Brave Forge Bracers swing and push a bit more damage. Okay, we're online. And look at the life totals. They do have a full hand, but if they're expecting to use their weapons to deal damage, we can shut them down. Yeah, and there's the spreading flames. Okay, we're smart. We didn't use the helmet on turn 1. This is great. We're online. We're keeping our reacts. We don't actually have a Draconic react, but that's okay because the first weapon is still free. We then crack a Fealty to make like Blade Flurry Draconic, and we have the Vigor to swing a second time, and we keep as much as we can. So I'm still going to block with this Sworn Vengeance. I'm just not going to do it right now because I want to shut down all of their weapon attacks. This is also going to deny them extra value from like throwing the daggers and then whatever. So yeah, and see they wanted to attack a bunch this turn. That's awesome. So block here. It's pretty good. Here comes 2 damage. Just hope they can't throw 2 more of these. We might get burned out by thrown daggers. That's really sad. Oh, and there's the hurl. Ah! Okay. Oh man. But this is used up. So depending on what they have left, I don't know. At this point, we kind of need to block a little bit. So, I want to keep the reacts. I really want to keep this. But if we need a break point for their last attack, I need this armor here. Although they've been throwing a lot of stuff at us, so maybe I want to use up my armor while I can. I just if I use all 3 of these and then their last attack is for 4, that would be really bad. So I think I have to get rid of this and just hope not to die. I don't know if they can pump this by 1. If the last card, if the last card's Hurl, that's okay. What do they got? This is so close. There it is. Okay. For 5. Okay, so I'm glad I kept my resources. Blade Flurry, sorry. This is the thing about Warrior. You block with your M's. And then we have to kill them. Because if we don't, they're going to flick a dagger at us on their next turn. This is so tight. Oh my goodness. But we're still going to get to swing twice. And we have the +3. So they kind of have to respect us a little bit. All they need to do is keep 1 card so that they can flick something. I wonder if they have a D-react here. Yes. Yes, let's go. Okay. Yes. That was a great game. Wow. Let's see if they want to chat. Wow. That was pretty good. Whew. Yeah, I know, Isaiah. That's crazy, right? That's like double blazing off the top right there. Wow. Crazy. Okay. How do I get out of here? Oh, there. Main menu. Woo! That was wild. Okay, I feel pretty happy tonight. We're showing off how the patience and kind of playing this mid-rangey style Fang is good, even into the mirror. And they were more like defensive than us when we played the mirror match. They had every single defensive piece they could possibly think of. They were playing 70 cards, all the sinks, all the fates, all the other D-reacts. And then to play into this aggro match into Syndra, which I said at the beginning has felt pretty good. But then they like hit us for 1,000,000 damage on that one turn. Like I wonder how much they did. Because they started with the blue poison sword card, and then they, what did they do? They like swung, through, swung, through. Like, did they deal 12 damage with daggers that turn or something? That was crazy. Isaiah, you um, throw the equipment at the hurl because you kind of got to hope it's not a 0 for 4 because you have to kill them. Yeah. Or you just get flicked if you don't kill them. Yeah, I know, and that was kind of an interesting situation. I wonder if in hindsight the opponent would have wanted to block a bit more, because if we had to go +4 there to kill them, but there are quite a few draconic reacts that will give you +3, especially because we had the vigor up. So I don't know if I would have made the same gamble that they did. I feel like if they block with their boots plus any card there, we still get to hit them for 1 and then 1, and they're still alive. So I think maybe in hindsight they definitely should have blocked, because all they have to do is pitch a card to dagger and then flick knives the other dagger. So they can effectively keep a 1 card hand and just block out. That being said, Fang is a warrior. It's still tough to know what kind of reactions you're going to face. If they overblock the first dagger and then we have something like Tooth of a Dragon, now all of a sudden our second dagger is coming in for 4, and then they have to throw like more cards at it. So yeah, that was a wild game. I feel like we kind of stole it at the end, but hey, that's why we play these games. That was awesome. Awesome game. Hey Nathan, what's going on? Okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Um, Definitely wanting to block there. No, that's awesome. Thanks for the game, Nathan. I feel like your one turn in the middle there, where you had the poison the sword, and then you like hit me with a dagger, flicked the dagger, got them back, hit, flick, like that kind of stuff. That was a crazy turn. I haven't seen anything like that out of Syndra yet. Really impressive. Yeah, and I get it. Like I also get just kind of, seeing what your opponent has, because it's all testing anyway, right? It's like, can they kill me here? What's in their deck? That kind of stuff. I'm sure you would make some different decisions if it was an event. Yeah, exactly, Bear. YOLO, let's see what's gonna happen. Especially on the last turn like that, because like Nathan, if you block, you definitely win, right? You just have the flick knives. So you're not gaining information by blocking and then getting the win. You get more information by, seeing what's behind the door. It's pretty cool. Oh, that's sweet, Nathan. Thanks so much for saying that. Yeah, this deck has felt really good. I grinded a ton of games over the weekend when none of the cards were working, and it felt really clunky at first, but I've kind of honed it down into what feels pretty good. 15 blues, about half reacts, and mostly block threes, because even though I'm trying to turbo out as much fealty as I can get, that's what the deck is called. Building fealty doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be dealing damage to the opponent. We're kind of banking the fealty so that we can get our really efficient numbers late game. And yeah, it's felt really good so far. So awesome. Yeah, that was great. Our first game was against a Fang, and that one was also very close. I thought it was really interesting. They were playing like 70 cards. They had every single 4 block D react you could think of in there. So that one was really interesting as well. And then yeah, of course, the game against you was one of my favorites I've had in quite a long time. So yeah, really appreciate that. How are people feeling? Do we want to play another game? Should we finish up and go do the dishes? If people are going to hang out and watch another one, I would definitely play another one. But if we're done with the stream, that's totally fine. Really appreciate people tuning in to check it out. What do you guys think? One thing that I do want to do is maybe look at replacing some of the blues. One of the tools I really like on Fabry is this results tab because you can see which cards you're using. This is a thing I used to do in Dorinthia all the time because in Dory, like your blues are block threes and they're your pitch cards. But if you can optimize even within a couple percentage points, like which cards might end up being useful at some point in the game, and you play 20 games, eventually that might come around. So right now I'm seeing in the played column that the incisions don't seem to be pulling their weight. And that makes sense to me. I mean, it's a reaction. It's a reaction in here because if you brick on Draconic cards, you can still use a Fealty, make this Draconic, swing twice, reset Dynamos, that kind of stuff. But the +1 to a dagger just seems so unimpactful that usually when this card is in my hand, I'm never thinking, oh, I could +1 them. I'm usually thinking, like, let's block 3 here. So I'm kind of wondering what to replace the incisions with. You can see that that's definitely like the lowest performing blue. They all pitch for 3, they all block for 3, but this one never gets played. So that's something I'm definitely looking at trading out. There are some people in the purple Discord that suggested Warmongers. Maybe that's something I would try. That would also require me to pay money to buy Warmongers in real life, but Warmongers might be a thing. I was also just thinking Glint the Quicksilver. We saw our first Fang opponent had Glint the Quicksilver in their deck, and random card is probably better than 1 value from our deck. And if we can upgrade our blue into a red, that seems pretty good. It's still a react, so you can still make it like a Draconic Glint the Quicksilver. So I could definitely see putting Glint in here. Oh, hey. Okay, Bear, Isaiah, looks like you guys want to watch another game. Yeah, sweet. I'm definitely into playing another game. Dishes can wait, right? Dishes can wait. Okay. So yeah, deck's running pretty good. This to me feels like I just don't want to say it, but this feels like a better mid-range warrior than Dorinthia, which just hurts to say because Dory's like my favorite hero, pet deck. I love playing mid-range Dory. It's very nice, like block back and forth, eke out value. Sometimes you fatigue your opponent. But this deck just does it better because it has a better late game. The problem I ran into with mid-range Dory is that when you have nothing to build into, I guess. You're not really building counters. You take all the super aggressive cards out of your deck, and you're just kind of going 1 point at a time. Whereas this deck, once you get the fealties, which you can just do playing mid range, all of a sudden your cap on your turns gets amped up, and you actually become kind of like an aggro deck that still blocks, so you can be blocking on hits and stuff. So I didn't expect to like Fang that much. But now that I've been playing it in this style, it's hit the exact niche that I've been trying to make Dorinthia work in for so long. Yeah, it's just like super, super fun. Jacob, snag not blocking. Snag not blocking. Oh, okay, I see. People are chatting about snag, yeah. So Nathan, I don't have that all you got in here. I have seen people playing that. I think that's a totally fine choice. I don't want to dilute the essence of the deck too much. And these loyalties beyond the grave have actually felt really good to me. So I could see putting the that all you gots in though, because they are yellows, right? Maybe they solve some of that pitch curve issue that we were talking about before. 15 blues is like the right amount if randomization is working, but it would be nice to have a couple extra resources in the deck. And so maybe that all you got is actually the play. We saw the loyalties used to good effect. That all you in both our games, I think. But yeah, this is definitely something I'm going to add to the maybe category because the fact that they're yellow and maybe they draw you cards throughout the game as well, like that could be pretty good. Oh, this round's on me instead of Snag. Let's take it. Yeah, that's the other. So this warrior is so interesting because um not because of this card specifically, but I was thinking about the frailty tokens. So when you're playing against assassin, you get Codex of Frailty, and as any warrior would know, frailty tokens are just the extra salt in the wound. Like they're particularly effective against you. But I've actually found I don't really care that much about the frailties with this deck because I'm still getting draconic chain links. I'm still attacking twice. Even if my last dagger is for 0, it still resets the dynamos. And so the like -1 effects against this deck specifically don't seem to matter as much. This round's on me against Syndra seems really good, right? Especially if they're playing more of those poison effects where they have to hit you to get the extra benefit. That seems like it could be really good. But, okay, let's go run the same list again. I'm going to think about these other blue options. What was the other one I said? Glint, right? So I'm going to think about Glint as well. The incisions just are not cutting it. So yeah, because we're not playing them when we need to. So let's go play another game. Feel free to keep chatting, and if you put any questions in there, I will look at them when I'm done. But I'm going to close the chat for now so we can focus on the game. Ooh, Ira. Let's see if they're still around. No, they're not around. Of course not. I've played some Iras. Those games have been really interesting. Those are definitely the ones where you need to bring in the extra fealty generators, the guaranteed fealty generators. But if you can get all your fealty right away, you can start to outvalue them until they erase face you. And so any deck that plays erase face, it's like its own mini game. And every time I draw my cards and I know the deck is playing erase face, I just think, how do I block erase face? I keep resources, I keep dynamos, I keep whatever I need to, just so I can guarantee the 6 block on the end of the chain. And sometimes that means I have extra cards in hand. But erase face is like the silver bullet, right? You can't do anything against erase face with this deck. It just resets you completely. So I don't expect to see erase face from this assassin. They are an assassin. We do want to block them a little bit. So our D-reacts come in. And a lot of the Arachnes I've been seeing recently are very attack reaction heavy, not as D-react heavy. And these ones aren't as disruptive. There is the one attack, the 0 for 3, that if you're marked and it hits you, so 0 for 4 in this case, and it hits you, you have to banish a card from your hand. That's pretty annoying. So I don't know if I want the marks or if I want the pledges. We haven't played with pledge yet tonight, so I'm going to throw those in. Adding just an extra 3 damage against Arachne, probably not that great because a lot of their cards block for 3. And yeah, let's see what we want to do. Turn 0, we want to build fealty. We want to get marks. And what can we do? We have no blue. We can attack, react, attack, mark, but only if we can deal enough damage. Because this is Tooth of the Dragon specifically, I think we're going to go for the aggressive line because it's going to back pump the second dagger, and then we might be able to mark them this turn. If it wasn't a back pump, I would probably not attack because they might be able to block everything out. So they must have a D-react or something, right? So that kind of stuffs their D-react because if they want to use it effectively, yeah. So we just got 2 free damage. I kind of feel like they have a D-react, and if we swing for 4, they're just going to block it out. So do I just make a vigor and pass? I don't know. I don't know if this is right, but they kind of waited to see what our react was without blocking. Like, they didn't even block with a single card. So I feel like they might have a D-react. So this way we strand that. Okay, heads up. We have double Oath of Loyalty. You can't play both of these. So we're either going to have to Arsenal one, or we're going to have to block with one. And I think Arsenaling is okay here. Our turn, we have our blue to fuel our turn. We're going to be able to float our Vigor. Oath of Loyalty bumps up the chain links, so Searing Gaze is going to be online. We could potentially mark them. And then our second attack could also mark them. So we might end next turn with 2 Fealty opportunities. This is just damage. So I don't think I'm blocking. They can draw a card at instant speed because they can flick knives the Hunter's Glaive, mark us, then we're marked and they hit us with this dagger attack. But they don't have go again, so I don't know. I'm just going to block with the dynamos and see what happens here. I expect them to attack us with another thing. This is actually a pretty good Arachne turn. And then they're going to hit us with the dagger into something else. So this is going to mark us. And then they play nothing. Okay, that's fine. We took 10 damage, but our hand is really good. Like I said, we might have 2 fealty opportunities here if both of our marked attacks hit. And again, if we didn't have a need for this second chain link text, we might have played differently. But this is pretty good for us, I think. Okay, and they turned into Trapdoor. I keep forgetting to look at which type of Arachne I'm playing against. And then they like have some secret ability I didn't read and it screws me up. So if it's a trap card, you may play until the start of your next turn. So they found a trap. So they have a D-react. That's okay. We're still going to try and mark our opponent. We're going to come out with the Oath of Loyalty, boost our chain link count, and try and get the Searing Gaze to hit. Is this the trap? Frailty trap. That's okay. I don't care about Frailty. You can't hurt me anymore. This isn't Dorinthia. Like, are you going to block this for 0? I don't know. But I'm definitely going to try and mark you. Great. We get our Vigor. We need to pitch 1 to swing. And our last react isn't Draconic, so we don't need to count chain links anymore. So I'm going to use a Brave Forge activation here. Oh, this isn't Draconic. Oh, man, I screw that up every time. I've done this a couple times tonight where I punt off of this because this isn't a Draconic card. And we have no way to make it Draconic. So it looks like we're just making another Vigor here. With that in mind, I kind of screwed this turn up. I should have blocked with the Oath of Loyalty, and then I could save the Scar Tissue in my arsenal. We kind of screwed that up. And when I say we, I mean me. This card is so tough to use. Oh, man. Now I'm distracted by this cat. So we have enough blues to fuel our turn. If there's a good opportunity to block with one of these, we're going to do that. If not, we can even use it as an extra react to try and mark and get fealty. We have our Draconic react, which is awesome. So blue to fuel us, Draconic to back pump, scar tissue. Well, we're going to have the same issue this turn. Maybe we don't play the Oath of Loyalty. We don't have any reacts that require on multiple chain links. Just tell this person I'm thinking. So the Oath of Loyalty probably stays in the arsenal. We're running out the react, blue, and this. So I don't think I block here. There are some cards in the Arachne decks that make you banish from hand. This is just +3. And so I need to keep an extra card in hand just in case they hit me with a banish effect. I can't use our dynamos here. Oof. I get it. Yeah, this Arachne Marionette deck seems really strong and it seems really cool. So if you are an assassin enjoyer, I think you should check it out. It seems really good. Okay, don't play Oath of Loyalty. Don't play Oath of Loyalty. We want to play the scar tissue. We start by swinging. No information for our opponent. We're going to use a blue to fuel the turn, and we're going to try and mark our opponent multiple times this turn. So the extra blue scar tissue here is actually going to be pretty good. We have to let this resolve. Give them a chance to block. Back pump. And now I'm going to use the scar tissue because even if they have a 4-block D-react, we're still going to go over by 1. And we want to mark, hit. Okay, that's fine. So we hit them. We get a fealty. Yes, we want a vigor. Then we mark them again. We might even end up with 3 fealty effectively here. That's pretty cool. The chain links don't matter. This is going to be for 1 damage. For 2 damage. If they throw the mask here, I want to be able to pump by 1. So I think I will use the bracers. Just in case they have a 2-block or something that... Oh, shit. Duh. I forgot about the tooth. This is like guaranteed to hit. Man, this deck's sweet. Yeah, and even though they have the 4-block here. So maybe we should have saved the resource for the extra vigor. I don't know, but anyway, we have 2 fealty plus a marked. This is great, right? This is exactly what we want. We want to be turboing out our fealties. We didn't need the pledge of fealty the whole time. They're trying to get us with the CNC. If my hand was a little bit more block heavy, I might block. If I had a blue, I might block, but because it's not a great blocking hand and we kind of want a blue for our turn, I'm going to use Crown here. And I'm not going to waste the Dynamo value either. You can't play Oath and Saber at the same time, but we're getting rid of the Oath, so I think I'll just do this, and then we'll go for a really big turn. Oh, I guess we don't even need a blue because we're going to play Pledge Fealty and have free attacks. Oh, man. This hand is great. Look at this. Okay. This is going to be something special, I think. Assuming there's nothing from our opponent. Let's see what we can do with 5 cards. I found Fang's value is better with like 3 cards or something. But we're going to be able to play our whole hand. We have our Floating Vigor, which is like the MVP to play Stabbing Pain. So what do? We savor Bloodshed. We're just going to play Pledge Fealty to get our 3rd fealty right away. We're going to swing for free. We're going to give it go again, depending on how they block with one of these two cards. Then we're going to blaze dagger. Yeah, this is pretty good. Pledge. So currently, we haven't done anything. We swing for free. We're threatening to draw a card if any of our daggers hit. So this is currently 5. They become a random hero. It's like a CNC kind of thing, so we don't want Arsenal. We do want to get go again. We're already kind of hitting. So if I give this +3, I go to 8. They can't get it with a D-React, so I'll use the smaller one. Remember, we're still trying to build extra fealty, even though we're on 3. The more that we can mark our opponent, the better. So we give go again here. We're going to draw a card. It's a blue incision, which basically gives us the ability to do vigors this turn. Play the blaze. So what are we on? What did we do the first time? 8? 12? Just wondering if I want to use Brave Forge Bracers here. I have 4 fealty. This lets me mark my opponent if I don't break the chain. And we've only played 1 Savor Bloodshed, so there is some value in having the opponent marked. You can build extra fealty and the savers, so I'm actually not going to break the chain here. We'll swing. We're going to lose out on 1 value, but we'll get another vigor. So what was that? 17, 2 vigors, and a mark. 5 cards. That was okay, I guess. Not the biggest turn. We don't need blues, so we can block with this one. We have 2 vigors, actually, so we're probably just going to end up blocking with the scar tissue as well. Isolate. What does this card do to us? Do you think they just loaded up with a bunch of attacks reactions? I don't know. Whatever's happening, we're blocking 3. We could even block with 4 of the Drakai, to be honest. We just want to keep 1 Draconic card, like Long Whisker Loyalty. Oh, okay, they're swapping it out. This card has been really interesting. I haven't seen it be super effective yet, the Take Up the Mantle. But it's +3, and you get to choose whichever on-hit you want, which is kind of cool. And they've chosen extra damage. Okay, that's cool. Okay. So this is one of those rare instances where we actually have an extra blue in hand that's not that effective, but hey, it's still +1. Still marks our opponent at the end of the turn. Actually, I have another idea for what we can do here. We are getting a little bit low on life. So I think I'm going to use some armor. Just to prevent 4 damage here. I found this Arachne doesn't have as many of the crazy on hits like New does, unless they play Surgical. Ooh, wow. Ooh, I wonder if they kill the Dynamos here. Maybe it doesn't matter. Okay, anyway, we're at 3. We didn't die. Yay. Sorry, there's so much going on. Okay, this turn is kind of confusing. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to swing. We're going to make the Scar Tissue Draconic to give go again, because we have an extra fealty. That's going to boost our chain links so that we can get 2 modes off of Long Whisker Loyalty, get go again on the second dagger, and then we're going to finish with For the Drakai as a chain ender. We just have to make sure we sequence this correctly, and we're also going to build 2 vigors. We don't want to break the chain this turn because of Long Whisker Loyalty. So let's do this. We'll use our weaker react here, which is fine. Pass. Then we attack with the Fire Vein. This is Chain Link 2. Long Whisker Loyalty. I want to push a little bit of damage. I'm going to use the Go Again to play for the Drakai, so I'm going to choose Mark as my second mode. Try and rebuild the Fealty that we used to get value with the Scar Tissue. One of the interesting things about Long Whisker Loyalty is you can actually get the Mark text on the other dagger. So if you play this as your first chain link and they block you out like crazy, you can give Mark to the second dagger, swing with it, and maybe mark them, which is kind of interesting. We do want to float our Vigor forward. We have Go Again. This is going to build a Fealty instantly. So we should be up to 5 Fealty. And yeah, threatening to mark for 6 Fealty. And they're down to 1 card here. I wonder what they have. Codex, duh. what could it possibly be? I wonder what they're going to get. Maybe something that gives them daggers back. We have to be pretty careful about the Flick Knives. And they got Kiss of Death, 0 for 4. That makes sense. So we need to block 3 damage. We're probably going to just use the Incision to block. We have mostly Draconic cards, but this is actually an interesting decision point. Because my first instinct is always to get Oath of Loyalty, because it pushes chain links up. We don't really need the extra fealty here, but pushing chain links up for Long Whisker Loyalty gives us potentially an extra dagger swing, which could be 1 damage, could matter. But I also want to play this Scar Tissue for damage, because 3 damage is a pretty big deal at this point in the game. And I want, now that my fealties are online, I want each card to be as big in numbers as possible. But if we grab Oath of Loyalty, we can't play the Scar Tissue unless we sack a fealty. Whereas we could use Blaze Headlong instead, and then we don't have to get rid of a fealty. So if I was at exactly 3 fealty, I think I would probably take the Blaze Headlong. Sorry, what did I just say? Yeah, I would take the Blaze Headlong because that would allow me to also play the Scar Tissue. But because we have fealty banked, I actually don't mind cracking one of these to make Scar Tissue Draconic. So I'm going to take the Oath of Loyalty. I'm going to discard the least impactful card, which is actually probably just Long Whisker Loyalty, to be fair. Well, I'm going to block with one of these and send the other one. So let's do this. We are going to get multiple chain links, so there's no reason not to block with Dynamo here, just in case. Wow, that was interesting. I narrated that whole turn, and I don't even know what I said, so if that wasn't coherent, sucks to suck, I guess. Okay, 3 coming in, easily blocked. Pass. Swing a dagger for 0. This is going to give +4. Should we do it? We do want to spread out our reacts. Sometimes you might load up like the Scar Tissue here as well, trying to get the marks and the fealties. We have lots of fealty. And if you spread out your reacts, you get an extra +1 off the second dagger. So we are going to do that here. We don't want to do this. Nope. And then we swing our last dagger. We make the Scar Tissue Draconic. We get +4. We mark them. And then we probably die. Just because we're at 3 life. And they kept a bunch of cards and then threw Leave No Witnesses. So let's pass. It is nice that we have a D-react here to kind of bail us out. I don't know what they're doing. They don't have any daggers. Attack doesn't have stealth. I guess they could pitch to play some kind of react. Like maybe... No, their attack doesn't have stealth. I don't know what they're doing, honestly. Maybe this one? Nope. That one also doesn't work. Maybe people in the chat know what's up and I have no idea, but I think I'm just going to block this for 4. I don't have any vigors, so there's no point in keeping the provoke. And then if they react, we have the loyalty. Wow. Oh, they just had dead cards in hand. I don't know what that means. I'm kind of scared. Like, are they trying to set something huge up? I don't know. But we're going to swing. We're going to tooth to back pump. And then we'll react over the top here. And we'll put the D-react in arsenal and hope that it's enough. I feel naked without my vigor token. What if I draw a card that costs 1? If this wasn't a D-react, I might pitch it to make a vigor. That's how important the vigors are. But because it's a D-react, it's going straight to the arsenal. Actually, do we have any of those in our bin already? We don't. Okay. The opponent is wondering if we can kill them. The answer is no. We can get to exactly 7 damage here. Block. Yes. Okay. Woo. Please block with flick knives. I mean, I know they don't have any daggers, but there's certain Arachne demi heroes that can give you daggers, and I don't want to get flick knifed to death. So let's push a bit of damage. You know, we're only going to push 2 here. At this point, we have so many fealty. Nobody more loyal than us. 8 fealty. So we don't really have to worry about the non-draconic text anymore. These are exactly the hands you want once your fealty is online. I see all red and all 0 cost. It's just beautiful. This is dominated. I think we just block with all the armor, 1 card, save the loyalty, and then smash for a whole bunch. So boom, boom, boom. Which card do we want to block with? This is 4 damage. We want that. This is 3. This is effectively 3, and this is 3 plus maybe another effect. But this one blocks for 3. What could they do? If they do 2 reacts, they go up to 7. So this fully blocks out 2 reacts. And then if they have a 3rd react, we can D-react. Interesting. I wonder if they had 2 reacts there. It feels like the opponent's not playing the game anymore. It's kind of weird. But our turn is just scripted. Swing, Draconic React, swing, Scar Tissue. Blaze Headlong is going to go in the middle there somewhere. And I'm hoping there's just enough chain links and enough reacts that they can't block everything. And we might even cheese a win here. Again, we're going to spread our reacts out because the extra +1 from the 2nd dagger could matter. And we will make the Scar Tissue Draconic. Even though we don't have to, it's going to be an extra +1 damage making it Draconic. So they're going to go down to 1. I wonder if they just gave up. Kind of feels like they gave up but didn't want to concede, which I can respect. Okay, so if we go +4, we go to 5 and we kill them. So let's crack the fealty. And let's try this. Okay, there's a win. Good game, opponent. So yeah, a little bit weird at the end there. I wonder what was going on. They had an isolate that they couldn't quite play. Oh, I see. They were trying to set up isolate plus multiple attack reactions. So I think we read that turn well by blocking for 7 against their 1 attack. It's nice that we had the loyalty as extra insurance, but I think they were trying to dominate double D react or double attack react. So anyway, good game. That was pretty fun. I'm gonna check what my success rate against Arachne is. I feel like I've had some issues against this deck. But let's take a look at what the history is here. Oh, Bear. Okay, so take up the mantle to swap it to a different card. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like, it's kind of like 2 attack reactions for 1. Where is this? Take up the mantle. Take up the mantle. It's kind of like 2 attack reactions in 1 in that case, because if they're playing isolate, they can swap it from a 1 to a 3 or 4 power card, and then this also gives +3 if it's attacking a marked hero. And I don't know if we were marked, but anyway, yeah, it could go from a 1 value attack potentially up to a 5 from a single card, and then if they have an attack reaction on top of that, that's 8. So yeah, I think it was close at the end there, because we were so close to winning, and they were playing kind of weird and like attacking with a card but then keeping multiple cards in hand that they wouldn't use. I think just like overblocking with armor there, making them have that, and then crashing back with all of our cards was probably a good call there. So yeah, anyway, really appreciate everyone coming out today. We're going to finish up. Oh yeah, I was just going to check how we're doing against the Arachnes. We are losing a lot against Arachne. Oh, so that might have been our first win. Let me refresh this page and see. That might actually be our first win against the Arachne marionette. No, that is the first win. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think what I learned is that you can just not block as much as you think you need to against this Arachne in particular. Like I said, there's exactly 1 card I'm worried about, which is if you're marked and it hits you, you have to banish a card from hand. Other than that, I haven't really seen that much disruption. Sure, there's like Leave No Witness and CNC and like these kinds of things, but in terms of like assassin flavored problems, there aren't that many in the Arachne marionette deck, or at least the ones I've been seeing. So I think I took these losses because I was trying to block too much, and then I was losing too much value from my own hand. Not that last game necessarily has to be representative of how they're all going to go, but in that game we definitely blocked less, or worried about on hits less, and just kind of played our own game plan a little bit more. And we were able to get there. So look at this win rate against Syndra. Again, not that really means anything, but it has felt really good into Syndra at least. Oh, perfect record against Fang. Yeah, this is the funny thing. I tell all my friends this. Whenever we go to events like ProQuest or RTNs and these kinds of things, we talk about what goals we have, right? What goals? You want a top 8? Do you want to go a positive record? Are you trying to win? These kinds of things. And one of the goals I always tell people is I don't want to lose to Dorinthia, because I play Dorinthia. It's my favorite deck. So it's kind of like a point of pride, is like, I don't want to lose to another Dorinthia. I want to show my mastery of that hero by playing well into other Dorinthias. And yeah, maybe this is like something I can add to my list. Is like, if I'm playing Fang, it's like I want to be the warrior in the room. I don't want to lose to another warrior. So far, we've been doing okay. People have been really experimental with their decks. I respect that. So there, I mean, no indication that these decks that I played over the weekend are going to be anything like what the Fang decks end up looking like. But so far, perfect win rate into Fang. Feel pretty good about it. I think we'll end stream there. So thanks everybody for coming out. Hopefully you like this. You're welcome to leave comments on the stream and I'll respond to you, or you can message me on Discord. Just Daily Travesty. And other than that, hope everyone has a really nice Monday evening. Chat to you all later. Thanks so much.